Hello, my name is Daniel Silva, and this is my Project Milestone 1, the Gauntlet for GPE205 at the University of Advancing Technology. Um, for the Project 1 milestone, we had to make a player tank that's able to move, shoot, destroy stationary enemy tanks, um, move with input keys, uh, firing inputs, enemy tank functionality, and player manager to control all game data. So, moving down to the criteria. Criteria 1, tank exists. And so I will pull up my scene. And here you see it, tank exists. Few tanks exist. This is my player tank here. Milestone, let's see, criteria 2. World exists and is valuable test environment. World exists, deliberately placed, and good testing environment. So what I did is I was actually playing around with the terrain painter. I made this pretty large scale playground with mountains and things, and I can fill in all the space with enemy tanks later. Player input registered using input manager. Let's go here to my script. I have an input controller. You can see that I have an input scheme enum for WASD. Arrow keys are a controller, a game controller. I haven't set all that up yet. I just have the WASD set up for now, the keyboard input. And the reason I have WASD and arrow keys separate is if I did arrow keys, it would just kind of reverse everything here, so that you would move the tank with the arrow and you move the weapon systems with WASD. But right now, your movement keys WASD, and let's see, turn keys, your up arrows are for your cannon barrel. Right and left arrow right now rotate your turret, and E and Q rotate a machine gun on the tank. Tab key switches camera views. Fire the machine gun is the X button. Spacebar to fire the cannon. And I will show that. Left, right, forward, reverse. Um, you can see over here I have my speed values set. Cannon barrel up, down. Machine guns rotate. Turret rotate. Switch camera view. Fire machine gun. Fire cannon. Alright, movement uses simple move and rotate in separate mover component. So I got my input controller, I have my tank motor as my input, as my movement component. And we have my move functions. forward movement using character controller simple move. I have rotate, for my left and right movement, and then I also have rotations. Here, let's go to set vector. Radar.rotate. It's a little radar I have on my tank that's just I have set to constantly spin during gameplay. As you can see right here, this little radar. Set to spin the whole time. Tank variables are exposed for designers. Forward, reverse, rotate, shell force, damage done, fire rate, max health, and score. So here you go, all my tank data. Player score, point values, that's to set the point values of the enemy tanks. Max health, current health, cannon damage value, bullet damage value, player forward speed, reverse speed, turn speed, turret rotate speed, radar rotate speed, cannon elevation speed, machine gun rotate speed, cannon recoil distance, just in case it wasn't noticed before. When I fire my cannon, I got a recoil on the barrel. And I set it to the AI as well. Cannon fire delay timer, shell force, cannon time to live, the cannon position reset delay that determines how long it takes for the cannon barrel to go back to its original position. Bullet force, bullet time to live, bullet firing delay. That's all my exposed variables. Tank variables stored in separate tank data component. Here you go, is my tank data component with all those variables that I just showed that were exposed. Shooter component fires shell in direction tank is facing. So we've kind of seen that already. Just to prove that the shell does follow along in all directions. And that my delay is only allowing me to fire every 2 seconds. That's where I have it currently set. And it works at the proper elevation as well. Shooter component limited in fire rate, we just seen that. Shells collide with other tanks and do damage. Okay, so let's go into our game. And this time we're going to watch the enemy tank. Enemy tank. You see the max health, and then the current health is set to the max health at start. And alright, now if I shoot this guy, I actually hit him. Having some issues with colliders. Okay, well. Well, this was working before I started the video. Go figure. Okay. Alright, well, I must have done something that broke the code. Just trying to quick check this to see what's going on, because that was working. I see. Somehow my tag got changed. Okay. Alright, let's try this again. Tank. And there you see the current health went down to 100. And destroyed when his health went down to 0. Okay, glad we got that fixed. Limited fire rate, collides with tank and do damage. Shells self-destruct after time and after collision with any object. So you've seen the shells self-destructing. Give it a bigger view, and I have my timer set to cannon shell time to live set to 5. I can bring that down to 1. And you watch over here, you see these clones disappearing. That's they're reaching their time to live, or they're interacting with the terrain. So I'll fire that up in the air. was hard to tell that it disappeared. There, you see it disappears in 1 second. And if I fire at the enemy tank or the terrain, and right now they're just disappearing, but eventually I'll put and instantiate an explosion on impact. And then if I adjust this back to 5, play again. Now that shell that was disappearing into the distance should keep going. Alright, Game Manager Singleton exists and allows easy access to player object and an array of enemy tank objects. Okay. So we'll go to my script first. Here we got a game manager. You can see if instance equals null, then instance equals this. Otherwise, destroy. There can only be one game manager. I have an array of tank data information and an array of game objects. And then I have all the stats displayed for the gameplay, which I will show. That's the manager. Here you can see game object array, game data array, which I use to get the information for all my enemies on the map, and my player score. And if I hit play, you see all the health values have populated and all the point values for each enemy has populated. And if I destroy this tank, you can see 0 health on enemy 1. Game object is missing. And I'm having issues with the score. So that isn't complete yet, but hope to get that fixed soon. Bug and error free. You can see there were no errors, no issues. Comments. All my code is commented. Comments for nearly every line. Oh, this is all just variables. And I have all of these that I can expand as well with more comments. Project organization, hierarchy, and project tabs are well organized. Files and classes are named appropriately. Extra code and objects are removed from project. You can see I have all my enemies grouped together, all my terrain objects grouped together, everything that makes up the player tank, also all the enemy tanks. Down here in my assets, I have an art folder There's all my textures, materials, terrain assets. My objects, I have prefabs for bullet, cannon, um, player tank, enemy tank, and my radar. I have my one scene, it's the main scene. All my scripts with my game manager. And this is actually audio, which I can move to art. And I haven't added the audio in, but it is on my to-do list. Code logic instruction, no logical errors. Code is optimized, utilize techniques covered in class. We've seen some of that. And exceeding minimum requirements. So let's maximize. Although it's very amateurish, I really like my environment. Um, First time messing with Terrain Painter or creating any kind of terrain. Secondly, I have AI that moves and fires automatically. I haven't set destruction on my own tank yet, so I won't die. I have the enemy tank set to different rotation speeds, different fire rates. There was one mention or requirement of placing obstacles in on the playing field. A collection of cubes and meshes placed in the world. I just went ahead and did the mountainous terrain, so that kind of acts as my barriers for that. Basically, I have the AI set to set forward and rotate on the update, so they're basically just going to do circles the whole time. I haven't done patrol paths or anything like that yet. And if you watch from this view, where did my, there we go. From this view, you can kind of see this guy's moving a little faster, he's firing a little faster. You can see they're on different rotations, different firing rates. So that is my project. I wasn't able to get everything done, like I said. I was struggling with getting the scoring system right. I didn't know how to, or struggling with getting the point value that's stored on my enemy tank and adding it to my player score, and then tracking which player is firing which shells. So those are some things that I'll need to work on and study up on. But other than that, that is Milestone 1 for the Gauntlet in my GPE205 at the University of Advancing Technology. Thank you.